So we are live. So
Okay.
lovely.
Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. I hope everyone's having a good day.
Yeah, doing good. Doing good.
Yeah. Wait.
How's
That's
everyone?
good. That's good. Okay, so today I'm Beverly. I'm your host. We also have the organizers Olamide and Emmanuel, and our guest speaker for today, who is Folashade.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, Folashade.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we get into today's webinar topic, I wanted to ask everyone in the chat, like how many of us have wanted to ask for a pay raise or felt like they deserved a promotion but didn't know how to bring it up to their employer? Yeah, so if you feel like you resonate with this, you're in the right place. Today we'll be discussing how to negotiate pay raises and promotions. To guide us through this, we're excited to have Fola Shade with us, who is in HR, and she'll be going into depth with how to achieve these things. So without further ado, please help me in welcoming Fola Shade.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to us. um, Initially, our plan was to speak about strategies for career growth, and along the line, we kind of imputed into it, oh, how we're going to negotiate pay raise, securing pay increases and promotion. But I think the most important thing is the most important thing we need to do is getting the strategies for career growth. From career growth is where you can now start looking at how you can secure pay increase and promotion. That's the most important thing. I have prepared some slides for us today, and I'm just going to take us quickly through it before we start, taking questions. So the most important thing is having a strong performance record. If you're in any organization, it's extremely important that your performance record is impeccable. Like if they speak to two or three people about you, they can actually say, oh yes, I can testify to his or her performance. I can testify to how this person brings value to the group. I can testify to how this person is important as part of our team. When you meet and exceed expectations consistently, there's no way that when the time for pay raise or pay discussion comes up, you have like a background, you have a stone to stand on, if I can use that balance. You have a stone to stand on. It's also extremely important that you track and document your achievements. Like a lot of people will tell you that, oh, it's going to look like you're trying to blow your own trumpet. But if you don't blow your own trumpet, who will? When you do stuff for your team, I mean, I'm not saying go out there and try to blab and be boasting as to what you can do, but ensure that when you're having your one-on-one with your director, with your manager, with whoever you report to, you can track and document your achievements. Create like a personal highlight reel for yourself. Like, okay, I was able to do this in this particular quarter. Like if you have jobs where you're giving what's it called, where you have things to fulfill like every quarter, and then you have to come back to it and say that, oh, this is what I did. You should have your own personal achievement reel. When you're having your one-on-one with your manager, with whoever you report to, you can actually say, this is what I achieved in this quarter. And then it's also important to ask yourself frequently, what can I do to improve on my performance? Because I've noticed that when it comes to work, it becomes monotonous at some point. Like you can close your eyes and do a lot of things. And you somehow, we don't know, we've become so relaxed in doing those things, because if they wake you up, you can I'm not let me use maybe data analysis for example. I'm not a data analyst, so I don't know, I may be saying the wrong things, but I'm sure for a lot of things, some of them might be automated. Like once I input my figures, these are the steps that I need to do. That so even when you're sleeping, you can do this job. So we get into that monotonous routine a lot of times, and we forget to improve on performance. It's human, but we need to constantly tell ourselves, what can I do to improve on my performance? Because we know that as immigrants, we must do double the work. It's like an unwritten rule. You want to prove yourself. You just have to prove yourself. You want to prove yourself and you have to prove yourself. Because majorly people look at you like, can this person actually do this? it's like an unwritten, it's not a rule, but it's unwritten somewhere that we just have to, you have to prove yourself. You must do double the work. Also, ensure that you're visible and your value is seen. Extremely important. Volunteer for high impact projects, make yourself visible, contribute during meetings. There's no visibility when you keep nodding and agreeing to everything at team meetings. I've seen a lot of us, and when I say us, I mean Nigerians do this. During meetings, they just keep quiet. They actually have ideas, which they'll probably now share with you once the meeting is done. And I'm going, why didn't you say this where everybody could hear you? So they know that you're not just a dumb person just sitting down there, just nodding to everything. And all this, when you give your ideas during meetings, your managers, other people, they note all of these things. When it's time for them to speak up for you, or when it's time for you to ask for a pay raise, they can say, oh yes, I know this person can actually do this. This person has shown signs that they are built for this role that they are asking for. This person has shown signs that they can actually perform in this role. It's also important to proactively share results and ideas with people, build cross-departmental relationships. I know that over here in Canada, you probably have to, if you work in corporate, you probably have to work across different departments. Let people see that your value is seen across departments, not just where, not just where you are needed. You sometimes have to deal with other departments. Let your values be seen. And then, of course, I'll always talk to people about continuous development. Pursue your certifications, your training, your new skills. There are so many courses on LinkedIn, Coursera, all those things that you can actually do at your free time to develop yourself. If you're in project management and you are not trying to develop yourself, I don't know what you're doing. Even in HR, there are so many courses that you can do to help you to develop your skills, to develop your personal development. Let me use that word. You have to stay ahead of industry and organizational needs, because no company, no organization wants someone that is still stuck in the 90s ideas. Even in the 2000 ideas are even getting obsolete now. So, different things comes up every day. You need to demonstrate readiness for higher responsibility. For you to be able to secure pay rise, they must see that, readiness in you, that you are ready to take on higher responsibility, you're ready to take on new challenges. And then it's also important for you to communicate your career goals. Express your interest in growth opportunities. If any growth opportunities comes up in your department, in your organization, you can speak to your manager, you can speak to people about it. Oh, I think I'm qualified for this role. Oh, I think I can do this. And if you're saying, I think I'm qualified for this role, I think I can do this, have you shown in the past how you are qualified, how you can do these things? It's also extremely important that you ask for feedback on skills to develop, position yourself for the next step. I think the most important thing for us as career people, if you're in corporate world, you need to always position yourself for the next step. You need to always be ready somehow for the next step, because changes comes into the organizations every time. They'll just wake up and say, oh, we are doing what's it called? We are doing an org review. And with that org review might come, oh, we have to remove some roles, or we have to add some roles. If you are ready, if you are constantly, position yourself to be for the next step, no matter how they move it. Of course, when situations like this come up, people end up losing their jobs. It's not anybody's fault. But if you are positioned for the next step, you kind of no. So if they're saying, oh, we are doing this because of this, I can say, oh yeah, I can actually do this as well. I have my certificates to prove it. I have my degree to back up my claims and all of that. Also, another thing that is extremely important is timing and business needs. You have to understand budget cycles and planning periods in your organization. So if you're asking for a pay raise in an organization, for instance, some organizations, they do this budget cycle at the beginning of each year. It varies for different organizations. It could be the beginning of a new year. It could be somewhere in between. But you need to be proactive before decisions are made. You need to know when they are making those decisions so that you can time your discussions with your manager towards that time. You need to align your personal goals with your organizational priorities. It's extremely important. You can't say that, oh, because I want a pay raise, then you just walk into your manager, or speak to anybody at at the time that doesn't align with the organizational priorities, of course they are going to tell you no. But if you're asking for pay raise towards where there's the budget cycle and the planning period, some of these things are always within the budget. So yeah, they can plan in between. Let's say, for instance, the planning cycle for your organization is November, and then you're coming to meet your manager in February to say, oh, I need a pay raise. Obviously, the person is going to tell you no, and then you're going to feel bad because it's not part of what they have planned. But if you're moving this towards the time of the planning period, towards the cycle, the budget cycle, this is something that they can put into consideration and say, oh yes, because every organization will put into consideration pay rise for staff into a new year. Another thing, yeah, culture and team contribution, support your team members, mentor others, embody organizational values daily, build trust and leadership presence. It's extremely, extremely, extremely important to be a team member in any organization where you find yourself. I say that to people all the time. You need to be seen, your value needs to be felt, and then you must embody what the organization, what the values that they believe in, their culture, before you can even speak to anyone. You need to build trust with your leadership. You need to build trust with your colleagues. You need to build trust with your manager. And then what do we really want as, immigrants in the corporate world? For immigrants, the job market isn't our biggest barrier. That's one thing I've noticed. It's the mental blocks that we carry. When we come in, we want to shrink to fit into junior roles. Just like, oh, do I think I can do this? It's one of the mental blocks that we carry. It's I don't know how to explain it, believing that you must start over in a new field, for instance, settling for less because that's how it works here. You've been told, a lot of people will tell you different things when you're new in a new country. You hear a lot of things. Oh, how do you think you can apply for a managerial role? Why do you think you can apply for a director role? Do you think you're qualified for it? What happens to their people? Those are the issues, Then we have to keep holding on to paths that no longer serve you. If you recognize any of these patterns, then you need to really speak to yourself. I need to shed all these weights that I'm carrying. I've always, said to people that it is important for you to know that you can pivot into anything as long as you're educated. There's a mental shift that you need to, get yourself into. Let me use, for example, lawyers. A lot of lawyers in this country, when they come into the country, obviously we know that they have to write exams, they have to do this, they have to do that before they can start practicing. It's a long road to success again for them, starting all over again. Some people would say, no, I'm no longer doing this, and then just decide that they rather just work anything that comes their way. Meanwhile, there are so many things that lawyers can get into. You can get into policy management, you can go into governance, you can go into a billion and one things just because of that law degree. Some lawyers even go into HR. So it's extremely important for you to speak to yourself. Drop that mental block first and foremost and say to yourself, I can pivot into something that, is going to work for me while I'm waiting to get my certification or to get another degree or to get whatever it is that I need. For most of us, some people would need to, write more exams before they can fit into the corporate world here. For some people, all you just need to do is probably 1 or 2 certifications, 1 or 2 personal. You might not even need to pay for it, before you can start getting into roles. So we don't need to shrink ourselves and to fit into. I've seen people that probably were like, director level, managerial level from back home, getting here and saying, oh, I can't apply for this role, what they are asking for. Sometimes it's just big English. You just need to sit down and break it down. Okay, this and this are what they are asking for. I can do this, I've had to speak to people over here who say to me that, oh, do you know majority of the people that we are working that are in our department are not even that educated. They rise up on the ladder through years of experience. You have gathered so many years of experience, and then you're mentally shifting yourself to say, I can't do this because they've used a big word to describe that role, So that's another thing. And then my summary today, because I prepped this based on career growth, then I'm going to just touch on how we can secure our pay raise through when people have started asking their questions. Think of your career as a partnership with your organization, and then make your value very, very visible. Align yourself with your company goals. Prepare today for the role you want tomorrow. It is extremely important. I would say to people, we know what we want. We're at that age where you can ask yourself, you can sit yourself down and say, in the next 10 years, where do I want to be? If I want to be in corporate, what's my plan? Do I want to be at the director level? Do I want to be a VP? Do I want to be a CEO? There's nothing that is impossible. The most important thing is for you to prep yourself to get to that level. What am I going to do to get myself to that role? For a lot of people, I've noticed it in Canada, people stay in an organization for 10 years, 15 years. If you're lucky to get into an organization where you see a career growth for yourself, you can as well stay. And while you're there, have a plan. What am I doing in the next 2 years that would enable me move to the next level? What am I going to do in the next 6 months that will enable me get a promotion? What can I do in the next 1 year that will enable me to do whether it be it certification, be it exams, be it personal development, be it volunteering, whatever it is important for you to align yourself with the goals of your company, make your value extremely visible, and prepare yourself for the role that you want tomorrow. I think that's about it for career growth. So if we want to speak about securing raises right now, I've kind of touched on them in various ways. The most important thing is before, let's say, for instance, you want to start a new role in a new organization, for instance. I'm talking about people that are looking for a job now. If you're looking for a job, you have to research the market rate for that role. No recruiter is going to come to you and tell you that, the actual salary value for that role is, for instance, $10,000. Maybe the organization has budgeted between $10,000 to $15,000. Recruiter obviously is just going to tell you that, what are you expecting us to pay you? So let's say you kind of short circuit yourself and say, $8,000 or something, because you haven't done your research to know how much is paid on that role. Of course, the recruiter is extremely happy because she's saving the organization a lot of money. They're not going to come back to tell you that, you can actually up your game to 12,000, at least save the company 3,000. No, the 8,000 that you said, by the time they go back to management, it's like, I was even able to, I got us a good candidate, and I was able to save the company a few $1,000s. Yeah, that's the way it works. So you need to know the salary band of the company. If the company is public or government based, most times you're going to see those salary scales. And if you check Glassdoor, pay scale, LinkedIn salary industry reports, you're going to have an idea how much is paid for that particular role. So when you're applying for that particular role, you know where to start your negotiation from. And it's also important that you know your value. When you list out your skills, your certification, your achievement, your unique contribution, even your recruiter will go back to say, this person that we are hiring has got this. I think we need to pay them. Good. But when you don't cover up, be ready to explain how you add value right away to the recruiter, so they know what they are, what they are in for. So we are not hiring a dunce. This person might be asking for what is above, the pay grade, but this and these are what they are bringing to the table. So that's important. And then it's also important you wait for the offer first before you start. When you're having meeting, having an interview, wait for the offer. Don't bring up money too early. Let the employer show interest, and then you make the first offer. This will give you a baseline and a leverage to be able to, negotiate. And then it's also important to, express your enthusiasm about that role. Like, I'm so happy to join the team. I'll be so happy to bring this and that to the table. I'm so happy to do this, to do that. When they see your enthusiasm, sometimes they're like, okay, this is the right person that we need. So even if you're asking for a few $1,000s above, what they've budgeted or what they're hoping that you're going to ask for, they are able to, move. I think that's about it from me. If people have questions, we can take it away, Beverly. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much for that information. It was very helpful. So yeah, as Folashade said, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. There's also a link. So if you want to join the link, then you can come up on stage and also ask your question. So I'll actually go first. So
Okay.
in terms of for pay raise, like from an HR perspective,
Yeah.
like what is the ideal case for promotion? Like someone should bring to the employer to ask for that promotion or raise. Like what are you looking for specifically?
From the employee.
Yeah.
I think, like I said earlier, it differs with different organizations. Some organizations have pay raises done annually. Like, it's like a constant thing. They do it annually. So when you're having that conversation with your manager, because there's something called like a performance review, that is the best time for you to bring it up. Your manager might say, "Oh, when I did your performance, I think you're just meeting expectation." If you know that you're exceeding expectation, that is the time for you to bring that conversation. So meeting expectations means probably you're going to get like a 2% increment, right? But if you're exceeding expectation, you're probably going to get like 4.5 or like a 5% or even more increment in your year. So that's the best time for you to bring those kind of things up. So it's still based on your performance. It's still based on that conversation you're going to have with your manager on that performance review, because the performance review is what leads to talking about pay raise at all. So if your performance review is horrible, obviously you're not going to get a good pay raise. Yes, and you don't have a platform to stand on to say this is why I'm asking for this. But if your performance review is excellent and you have, that's why I said initially that you must document everything that you are doing. You bring those things to the table. Remember when I did this for the team? Remember when I was asked to do this? Remember, all those things. You have to put pain in them and say, and I've met my quota. I met my target. So you have a platform to stand on.
So documenting everything and then bringing it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's extremely important. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. Okay, yeah, we have one question. Okay, so with the current economic issues around the world, is this a good time to ask for a raise?
There's never a bad time to ask for a raise. That's what I said. It's important for you to know how your company is doing financially. If a company is, if they are not going down, there's really never a time, because there are always budgets for salary increments every year. It's always in the budget. So if you don't ask, you're leaving money on the table. And most times, most people leave money on the table. We all leave money on the table. And that's just the truth. In so many ways, in different ways. So as long as you're bringing value, your organization is not ready to lose you. I can tell you that for free. If you're bringing value, because the cost of looking for another person when you decide to leave is going to cost them more than them actually agreeing to give you the few thousands of dollars that you're asking for. So there's never a bad time to ask for a pay increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that answer.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions? Okay, there's another question. I've heard some people say when you are asked for your pay expectation, it is advisable to ask them of the pay range for that role and for you to aim at the highest. What's your advice?
Yes, that's very important. When you're speaking to a recruiter, the first thing they're going to ask you what's your pay expectation. You should ask what is the range for that role. You must ask. Most times they'll tell you, it's between this and this amount, right? Just aim for the highest. And sometimes you can even ask for more than what they are aiming for. Once you see the other, because it's also important when you're asking for pay to also know what other benefits comes with the pay, because sometimes the benefits actually can outweigh how much you're leaving on the table. If you have
Yeah.
maybe 100% co-insurance on a lot of things, it's those are very important. Yeah.
Okay. Another question, what is the best way to ask for signing bonus and relocation cost?
I think it depends on this depends on the organization. Some companies do give signing up bonus, some don't. That is
Okay.
why when you're interviewing with any organization, you need to do your research very well to know what gives. If you can speak to one or two people in the organization to know what they do, is also very important. It helps, different companies, different procedures, different methods. Some companies will give relocation allowance, some will give you sign up bonus, some will give even just for referring people to the organization, even just for interviews, you get given bonuses for that. And if they now end up employing them, you still get, some other things, some perks that comes to you. So this is more an organizational thing. You need to know which company you're interviewing with and what gives, because they can't actually change. A company that has a set, figure that they give as sign up bonus, there's really no way you can negotiate that, because that's already in the budget. Yeah, that's already in the budget. If they say they are giving $10,000, because you want to negotiate, it's not going to increase it from that 10,000.
Yeah.
If they have $2,000 of relocation allowance, that's fixed.
Okay.
You get what I mean? Yeah.
So are these like questions that you would ask like during the interview if you're trying to join that company, or would you wait till you actually secure the job, then you would bring up these questions?
I think it's better to wait until you are sure that the interview is going like a positive,
Okay.
like a positive way in this, because sometimes some questions actually put some recruiters off, like, oh, this person is all about money.
Okay.
Yeah, this person is all about money. This person is not even saying what they're going to bring to the table. This person is not even giving us, their values. We don't even, sometimes recruiters will see your CV on LinkedIn. Let me use our word here, your resume on LinkedIn, and reach out to you. In that case, when they're reaching out to you, they've seen your value. So all you need to do is, okay, they've seen your value on face level. Now speak. So they see what you are bringing to the table. After you have done that, then you can come up with this and these are my rules that I can't bend, or I'm not willing to relocate. I need sign up bonus. Or if I'm going to relocate, I need relocation allowance. If I'm going to do this, these are the benefits that I'm expecting. So that still falls within the flow, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions? Okay, we have one more.
Okay.
If you want to move within a company from one role to another based on competence and interest, do you ask for a better pay?
No, definitely. Definitely. If you are moving within an organization and it's your workload is going to be different, it's an additional, obviously, because nobody's going to move from a higher role to a lower role. So if you're moving within an organization, it's definitely for a higher role. You must ask for better compensation. That's a no-brainer. You have to.
Okay.
You have to position yourself well to be able to move to that role. Yeah, you need to be able to sell yourself.
So it's possible that if you move to the role and you don't bring it up, they won't
say anything. They'll just leave it. Yeah.
Oh.
If you don't say anything, nobody's going to say anything. Everybody wants to save money. Don't forget, it's a business. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
It's a business. So yeah. So if you're not saying anything, they probably just say, okay, maybe you're on $1,000 now. We can just make it 1,100 because you're not asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they could be actually paying you more.
You could be paying
but they
you
won't
more.
tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
In an organization where work is highly segregated and it is not usual to contribute to tasks not assigned to you, how can one go about finding or contributing to task projects for visibility?
Yeah, that question, that's a very good one, actually, because you might be in a department where you think you're not being seen, right? because maybe, how do I put it? You're in a team of 4 and your contribution is minimal, right? In that team of 4, you have a manager. You're always going to meet with that manager at some point because of that project. That is where your visibility can be seen. That is where you speak up on what you've contributed. Because these questions will always come up at meetings. So does anybody have anything to say? Right? That always comes up in any meeting when you have a manager that doesn't micromanage, except you're working with a manager that is a micromanager. If your manager doesn't micromanage, it's always important they ask you, what is, that is when you sell yourself. It might just be 1 point, it might be 2. You don't have to overflog it. You don't have to make it look as if, I'm here. This is what I did, just 1 or 2 things. They note these things down. They know, this person would always say something. I've had to speak to people that would say that no matter what I say, it's not important in the grand scheme of things. No, they are important. There are people that are noting. There are people that would say, when you decide to, apply for a managerial role, and then they go, why would you want to give the managerial to someone that doesn't even speak when we're having group meetings? How is that person ever going to be able to lead? You don't have to always, be the all the time. Yeah, but let people know that when you speak, what comes out of your mouth makes sense. What comes out of your mouth adds value to the project at hand. What comes out of your mind is not rude to other people. You put other people into consideration when you're speaking. Those are the little things that management look at.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is, if you know that you're trying to move up, you have to kind of portray those traits already.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
subtle ways, in big ways, however you want to do it, but not over the top, not in my face, because you don't want to threaten the manager that you're reporting to as well. That
exactly.
I think I'm better than you, obviously.
Yeah. If someone's request for a promotion or pay increase is denied, what are the best steps to take afterward?
It might be, you need to ask why it's being denied. It might be based on budget cycle. Like I said earlier, if you're asking at the wrong time, you could have asked at the wrong time.
Okay.
And it might also be that the performance, they just feel the person's performance isn't at par with what the person is asking for. So it's either of the two. Probably because of the budget cycle, and they say, this isn't part of the budget now. Because as we know, especially if it's not a one-man business, there's always budget for everything.
Yeah.
And as much as possible, companies try not to, go over their budgets because they have to report to their board as well. You can't tell the board that, we budgeted 20,000 for salary pay increase, but somehow we went over 50,000. That's not proper planning. That's not proper financial planning.
Yeah.
So you might be asking at the wrong time, one, and then it might be based on your performance. So when a salary increase is kind of, denied, you need to ask, may I know why this is like this, so you know what to take away. If there's no particular reason why you are being denied, I would say maybe take a walk. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, is your manager likely to promote you if they see you are too happy and content with your job?
If they see that you're enjoying what you're doing, I think they shouldn't have a problem with promoting you. If you you're enjoying what you're doing, you're adding value, which is the most important. That is what you're getting paid for, to add value to the organization, to the project, whatever it is that you're doing. If they see that you enjoy what you're doing, you add value, you're happy to come to work, you bring yourself, your real self to work all the time, of course, there shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. And then I think this will be the last question that we'll take.
Okay.
If you get a hiring manager's confirmation that you will be promoted in 6 months during the recruitment, how best can you enforce this commitment when it is 6 months?
Do you mean if they've said that to you before you start the job? Do you want to read the question again? Let me see.
If you get a hiring manager's confirmation that you will be promoted in 6 months during the recruitment. Yeah. So yes. How best can you enforce this commitment when it is 6 months? So yeah, before the job.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need to reinforce the commitment, because you should always let them put that in writing.
Yeah. Okay.
Do not take anything verbally, because anything that is verbal can be rescinded. They're like, oh, I didn't say that. Oh, when did I say that?
That's
But
true. Okay.
But if it's, written, yeah. For your offer, I always tell people, go through your offer letter 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Just to be sure that you're not missing out on anything. And anything that you don't understand, you can, quickly point it out before you sign. So if your hiring manager has said to you that, oh, this is what we're going to do in the next 2 months, in the next 3 months, even if they say your probation is this number of months, let them put it in writing. So that you can always refer, you can always go back to that. Yeah.
Okay. I know I said that was the last question, but there's one more
Okay,
that
no
just
problem.
came in. I'm so
No
sorry.
problem. No, that's fine.
How can an introverted person build influence without feeling fake or loud?
I can what?
An introverted person
Okay.
build influence without feeling fake or loud.
I would say I can relate, because I have dual personality. I can be introverted and I can actually speak up. When I'll use myself as an example.
Okay.
When I've worked corporates in the UK, and it's different from corporate here. I don't know how to explain it, right? Because I think it depends on the people being conservative, and I kind of like always keep to myself. But I know that in the role that I'm in, I need to speak up. If I don't speak up, I'm going to be part of the furniture. Or like when they're talking, like that one would never have anything to say to anything. So they never call you to anything important. They never run anything by you. So you always feel like you're being left out. And guess what? That leads to career depression. Because when you're working in an organization and you feel when they're making decisions, no one tells you anything. Not because they don't want to tell you, but because they just feel what's going to be his or her attitude anyways.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't bother. As an introverted person, I always say, you need to speak to that person in you to say, this is work, this is my life. I need to, come up. I need to speak when I have to speak. They know that you're quiet, right? But they know that when you speak, you are contributing value, you're bringing value. So that's what I always advise people that are in those kind of shoes. Like, judge your environment very well, gauge the people very well, and know when to speak, so that when you speak, it's solid, right? You don't some people just like to hear the sound of their voices. They babble most times.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blah blah. So you don't need that. So even as an introverted person, it can be once or twice that you contribute in meetings, once or twice that you speak up to your manager about an idea that you have about your project, about what you're doing, or what you have even done during your one-on-one. The most important thing as an introverted person is, even if you can't speak up during meetings, when you have your personal one-on-one with your manager, speak, talk. Don't just nod at everything. Or if they say, oh, Beverly, I don't like what you did with this project, and you know that it's different, but because you just don't want trouble, you just keep quiet. Yeah, they put that down as, oh yeah, but when I asked you that you messed up this project, you didn't say anything. You can't just
defend yourself.
Yeah, you didn't defend yourself. You can't go behind and go meet another colleague to say, oh, can you imagine what this person was saying? That wasn't what happened. You need to be able to speak for yourself.
Exactly.
So even if you can't speak up during team meetings because you're just shy or this, when you're having your one-on-one with your managers, please speak.
At least then speak up.
Speak up.
Yeah.
Let them know your value. Let them see your value. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, as someone who can be introverted as well, like I relate to that. So
yeah,
that was a very good question. Okay, so so that comes to the end of our webinar. I just want to pass it on to our organizer Emmanuel, who will close it off with a few remarks.
Okay.
Oh, we can't hear you, Olamide.
You muted.
Sorry, Emmanuel cannot come up now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining today's webinar, Strategies for Securing Pay Increases and Promotions. A special thanks to our host, Beverly, and our amazing speaker, Folashade, for their invaluable insights. We appreciate all our members from CareHub who participated. So get ready for our upcoming poll for the next webinar topic. We want to hear your votes and preferences. Stay tuned. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
joining.
you. Yeah.